Cult Magazine welcomes in our good friend Andrew of Metal Assault Records. How are you doing?
I am good. Thank you for having me on Ghost Cult, on your Ghost Cult YouTube for this interview. Stoked to be talking to you. I always love shooting the shit with you. Oh, by the
Yeah,
way, can
man,
I say shit?
you can. We don't care.
All
It's
right.
all good. We're
Yeah.
already, probably YouTube algorithm doesn't love
Yeah.
us, but whatever. It's all good. Speak freely. Great to see you. I saw you last in person, so would be better if we were in person, but next time maybe.
Yeah.
And congratulations on 12 years of the Metal Assault brand and Metal Assault Records here now. And it was so good to see you a couple of months ago with Bone Maggot, and that was actually like my birthday weekend. I was
That's
down in
right.
LA
Yeah.
and doing a lot of LA things, and we got to hang out at that show, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And
And
it really was amazing for like a
yeah,
Sunday night in the middle of this craziness to see an awesome metal show
totally.
where everybody was chill and the venue was great and the bands were great. And I got again special shout out to Bone Maggot for really killing it that night. Really made me
Yeah,
laugh.
that I remember that. It was towards the end of September on a Sunday evening, and I think we took the train back towards downtown LA after the show. So good times. Yeah.
It was good times, man. It was a
Yeah.
fun way to close that weekend out for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, you have this big Metal Assault weekend, anniversary festival type thing, which is super awesome. We are incredibly proud to partner up with you on this because I have been a fan before you even had the label. I was always a fan of yours. We briefly worked together at a past website where we overlapped for like 1 week.
Yeah.
The Metal Assault, your work as a journalist. I know, it's taxing and it's usually what happens. You either stay or you go do something else. There are quite a few labels out there and promoters and bookers and managers and agents who started in the journalism world who then sort
Yeah.
of transmutated to something else. But the label, man, is really taking off, and just congratulations on this whole arc for you.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, like you said, I mean, at the bottom of my heart, I'm still a fan, and that's why I do anything I do. But yeah, like it's kind of been a journey, like from being just a kind of a documentarian slash reviewer of all my concert experiences to getting to interview all kinds of bands, like from your local band all the way to like Rob Halford and stuff. And then I think it basically for me came to a point where I had established some audience from what I was doing just as a blog, and I wanted to use that to kind of promote some of the more deserving, like upcoming underground bands. So I took a really real deep dive into the underground, not just locally here in Los Angeles, but just in general. So everything else after that kind of is geared towards that with like my concert promotions and the label. So yeah, it's been 12 years overall with the brand, but yeah, it's just been like a different transitioning into different things through the years. Yeah.
Right on. And
Yeah.
just to talk about the label for a second, right? So kind of shift to the label focus. And a lot of labels do, like a very boutique, this is our only sound. This is,
Yeah.
because like it is helpful, like for many years, right? Relapse was like only extreme brutal metal
Yeah.
and death metal. And then they also signed Baroness, and they
Yeah.
also signed the original Royal Thunder. So they all, they started somewhere where they started to be like, other things are okay too. And I feel like you always approached this kind of 31 flavors. If it's heavy and it's high quality, it's good for Metal Assault. And I feel like that's just a very poor way of summing up the bent of the label, which I really have liked, that you have this variety.
Yeah, no, that's an accurate assessment. I think just from day one, with even with the blog and with everything that I was doing in the industry, like I've always been very broad ranged and diverse in my tastes in terms of subgenres and different, the whole heavy metal family tree or heavy music family tree per se. So I think the same applies to the label. I Every band that I sign is with an aim of expanding the horizons, or like adding a different palette to whatever's already existing. So yeah, that's kind of how it has how the roster has shaped up so far. I mean, I don't think there's two bands on there that are anywhere near alike to each other. They're all very different from each other. And I think a lot of them are, or pretty much all of them are pushing the boundaries with what they're trying to pursue or what they're presenting. I think it's maybe for better or for worse. I think it's hard to describe any of the bands in like simple terms, you know. It's just like there's always multiple terms involved or like a variation of something you already know, you know. So yeah.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
And everybody has their favorites. I have mine. No secret to anybody that watches our weekly show. You see the Old Blood poster over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I even shouted it out last week because I got my 429 shirt in the
Yeah.
mail, and I was like, dude. And
Oh, mail call. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, the
Yeah, I saw
mail. We
that.
do the mailbag
Yeah.
every week, and I try to highlight whoever we either get sent stuff to or buy stuff from, because I also am still a fan at heart. I am so pumped for Bandcamp Friday, and I can't wait to just drop
Yeah.
some money on my favorite new things or discover new things. They're all, if you're listening, if you're watching this out there, suggest some shit to me in the comments, because like I will buy your shit off of Bandcamp on a curiosity, because that's how I roll. I'm still a passionate fan. That's my approach still, as much as I take this very seriously and study musicology. And I was in bands that were terrible. I care deeply about the genre. And I love that you do too, because we've had many discussions just about music that were not about anything business related. So, I have my favorites on the label, and just from just anybody glancing at this weekend of shows, it's a very diverse lineup, just like the label. I have my personal favorites, but let's ask you a pointed question. Who's got new stuff coming out on the label this year that you can talk about?
Yeah, no, that's I'm glad you asked. So, I mean, as of uh, basically, like I'm talking about 2022 in general, like we put out two releases in January. We put out the debut full length from Electromancy, which is actually a band based out of Oakland. It's like again, it's like a very unique thing where it's like technical black metal, but it's played by robots. So that's the only way to describe it, you know. So it's pretty cool. And then we released the seventh album from Nashville, Tennessee's Noise Cult, which is completely opposite. It's like just in your face, straightforward heavy rock and heavy metal. Then, as for upcoming stuff, I guess depending on when this airs, we have for Bandcamp Friday, our album release is the new album from Baver C, which is a stoner doom band from Bangalore, India. It's their long-awaited third album, first one in 5 years. So super stoked on that. And then we have the new Claustrophobia coming out in March. We have a new album from a project called Mega Drone, which is a drone psych project. Then April, we have the new albums from Ilder Baloo from Boise and Consciously Dying. Consciously Dying from LA. Their album comes out in May. But in April, we also have another album from Infinity Dream, which is a new sort of melodic slash gothic metal band featuring members from a band called Widow, based out of North Carolina. So yeah, like lots coming out, and yeah, more in the works that hasn't he even doesn't even have like a set release date yet, you know. But I basically told you everything that we have announced so far that has release dates confirmed, you know. So yeah.
Right on. Bever C is
Yeah.
amazing, by the way. Anybody who doesn't, that last record of theirs, I didn't realize it was so long ago now, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so pumped. I almost like, was like, what happened to those guys? So, life gets in the way. I always say this to
Yeah.
people, like the expectation of availability of music with streaming and all the complaining and arguing going on right now at Spotify.
Yeah.
The availability of music is like good, because it's been like never before easy to get your hands on music at any source you want to, the
Yeah.
convenience of it. But I think at the same time, you don't want to devalue it. And I think that's the thing about boutique labels like yours, is that you really highlight the the essence of bands and why they're important. And it's not just albums you throw away. A lot of these albums are very rewarding. These bands are very good. They deserve promotion. They deserve publicity. They deserve to sell music to people and have people hear their whole albums and not just a song in a playlist and forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad you're familiar with Baver C. I mean, yeah, they've been around for quite a bit, so they're not new by any means. But yeah, like super stoked on that one and on all the releases. Really, like, I mean, that's the only reason I'm releasing those albums. Like, is because I'm stoked on them. Otherwise, I wouldn't even do it. So, yeah,
Right on.
yeah.
Shout out to my number two there, Steve Tovey is back at Ghost Cult in the UK, running our whole reviews team all over the world. So I'm going to make sure all these releases get in front of him for
Awesome.
the
Yeah.
team, so we get reviews happening, and
Yeah.
you and I set up interviews, and we do all these things. We do all the things because that's what we're here for. As much as as we both know, it's the butt rock that gets the clicks. But
Yeah.
what that we service the butt rock, we share the five finger death punches, and in this moments, and the buck cherries, so I
Yeah.
can share BevRC. So
Yeah. And I guess like that whole thing also kind of translates into PR in general. I mean, it's also just as hard for me as a label to score a good publicist or whatever, so that, or for the publicist to get coverage, in other words. So yeah, like, all that is a challenge. But, I think from what I've observed, at least when any album comes out on its release day and people hear the whole thing, like generally that's when a lot of people are like, all right, this is amazing, like for every album that's coming on the label, like that's been the general response. So even if the pre-release buildup is not sometimes not as big, I think the actual release day is usually like pretty solid, so I would really look forward to those.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
honestly, I think just as a journo, ever since the releases moved to Friday and they're unified, mostly
Yeah.
most bands are not doing some shenanigans and putting things out on different days. But since the releases all moved to Friday, at least it seems like there's a little more coalescing around that in the
Yeah.
whole world. And I know some bands think like, if I put my record out on a Saturday, someone will see it. They really won't.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I don't know, I would be interested to get your thoughts on it just as like your from your perspective. But um sometimes bands, I mean, they hit me up saying, "Oh, let's release on a Tuesday or like a on the Wednesday so that we're not competing with everything else on Friday." I'm like, "No, that's the opposite of my thinking because I want it to be included in all the release roundups. Like, for example, you guys do on your website every Friday without fail, which is awesome. I see those all the time, and a lot of other sites do the same too. I think even if it's just listing the releases and not even like doing a write up, it still counts, like
yeah,
Loudwire or Metal
yeah.
Injection or whatever it may be, or
I don't go out of my
Consequence.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way to shout out our competitors all the time, but I will
Yeah.
say like Injection, Loudwire, Metal
Yeah.
Sucks, shit that comes out today,
Yeah.
Heavy Music Headquarters, independent bands, just get on
Yeah.
those if you can't get coverage, if you can't get news because it's so competitive and it's hard, and we have such a hard time just covering all the major label stuff, what we consider major labels, your Metal Blades, your Century Medias, your Nuclear
Yeah.
Blast, your Napalms, but like it's very competitive and there's a lot of noise that you have to cut through. But if you could at least get on those lists, I'm telling you, a lot of people look out for them. Even PRP does one on there, like they have a constant like
Yeah.
sidebar. So like shout out to all of them who are promoting underground bands. They don't just promote the big bands. So
Yeah.
even though there are competition, they're doing something good for the community. So I
Yeah.
appreciate them.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Word. Let me ask you a question now, just before we go and discuss the show and a few other things before
Yeah.
we wrap it up. I definitely want to ask you. So, if a band you have you're definitely branching out. You're not just a regional label anymore. You've got bands in other states. You've got just whoever's attracting you to them. I love the North Carolina band. Also, I was like, oh, I know their old band. I don't know the new one, but I
Yeah.
knew some of those guys. How does someone pitch? How do you accept pitches just randomly? How do you approach someone that's pitching you? And what's a way to not get like what's the biggest no-no for you on someone pitching you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, so far at least, I've worked more with just bands that have reached out to me instead of the other way around. With maybe the only exception was Old Blood because I was already managing them before the label started, so that was a natural progression there, and it was pretty obvious. But I think other than them, pretty much all the bands have approached me, and I've like kind of taken it on a case by case basis. I mean, there's definitely been a lot more that have approached me that I haven't signed, not like that's like a bragging point or anything, but I do get contacted a lot, but I'm open to submissions. And I do it that way instead of the other way around because like you said, I mean, it's like you said you called it a boutique label, which I like. That is a more kind of positive way to put it. Or if you want to just call it like a small label or independent label or whatever it may be, it's just, I'm not really in a position as of right now to where I can reach out to a band, and then because then that becomes like a whole situation where they have more leverage, like they're like, oh, what can you do for us? So I don't know how to answer that, like if they're already not interested in my label, you know what I'm saying? So this is how I approach it, where I take it based on which bands are interested first, and then I decide if I'm interested in them or not, yeah, in a lot of cases I already know the bands that hit me up, so then it's like easy to start the conversation from there. Yeah, because as a promoter, I've booked over 350 shows at this point, so that, and a lot of that, oh, quite a bit of that was before the label started. So I already had like a big network of bands, so some of the signings came from working with those bands previously. So yeah, that's how I do it. I think I do have a different approach from maybe other labels in that sense, so maybe that's why my roster kind of is different as well.
Right on. I don't
Yeah.
want to name names, but another label pitched me. I'm getting pitched all the time. My inbox is obscene, as I say, it's like 1,000 emails a day
Yeah.
between marketing and social media stuff and Ghost Cult. Somebody referred to themselves as a bespoke artisan music label, and I was like, I'm a dude that uses a lot of $10 words, and I would not refer to my label as bespoke because it's not like a custom hand woven pair of jeans. It's music. And I like boutique because it's kind of like, to me, conjures up, like, again, just curated
Yeah.
indie rock, independent curated DIY, but also like it's got character. And that's what I like boutique as a word. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, thank you back. And again, makes a lot of sense. All these things add up, your taste, you know. Somebody on my brain trust was like, we've done some comps that are mostly stoner doom, because that's like
Yeah.
one of my personal top genres. But like, would we do a label someday? I don't know. It's a lot of work. Like Ghost Cult is a
It
lot of work. I
is.
don't know. I want to write a book. I would like to make a documentary film
Yeah.
someday. I can't clone myself. There's only so many
Yeah,
trucker
man.
hats and yellow shirts around, I don't know what
Yeah,
to
I
do.
can. I would want to do all those things too, but yeah, definitely, it's a lot of work. But yeah, I mean, you said you have a obscene number of emails. I was just thinking, I don't send you enough. I should send you more emails.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
do
kind
that.
of
And
in
yeah,
between publicists, but
I hear you. It's
yeah,
hard out there. We're in the circle of trust though, so we'll get it
yeah,
together.
yeah,
You have a beer being made in collaboration with this fine event, and I want to
yeah.
shout out the beer maker, the tap room, the sponsors. Like, you did a really wonderful job, and other people have come together to support you also. So this is not just a great show with great bands, but there's a lot of really awesome stuff swirling around this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the festival, the main festival, over the 2 days, Saturday the 12th and Sunday the 13th, is at a place called Transplants Brewing in Palmdale, California, which is it's about an hour north of Los Angeles, like Los Angeles Central. But yeah, I think I had this in mind, and I briefly talked about it with them even like late last year about the possibility of collaborating on a beer for either the Metal Assault brand or maybe for Old Blood or some of the other bands or something. So for the anniversary, I thought it was perfect to do it. So it's like it's like a lighter, sort of lower alcohol percentage IPA, and the idea behind it was simply so that more people drink it and people drink more of it. So yeah, I think it came out great. I tasted it recently because they kind of did a soft launch at the brewery, and they gave me some. They were those the crew were in LA for something else, and they brought me some crowlers. So yeah, I still have some here, but yeah, like the main launch for it is at the festival. But yeah, the brewery folks were saying that it was already selling so well that they had to stop like actually selling it, so to save it for the event. They were not expecting it to start moving as quickly. But yeah, the promo has been strong, and the response has been really solid to especially the beer announcement, but just the fest in general, But again, it's all like bands. Some of them are on the label, some are not, but it's relatively underground in that sense. So I'm just trying my best to make it a good event, and appreciate your support with that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, my pleasure. And again, that all sounds amazing. I have a separate podcast that's not part of Ghost Cult that we also drink beers and do
Ah,
craft beer on. So I'm a beer fan.
we could do a
And
drinking session on that. Yeah, I should.
yeah, 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 man.
I
We'll
should
see.
send you one, and then we can both do it.
Sure. I'm about to do like a series of beer videos because I have all the
Nice.
band beers, like a whole bunch
Yeah.
of them. I've been ordering like the Deftones Belching Beaver beers. They just launched a new one this week.
So do you actually order them and they ship it to you?
A combination of things. A couple of
Yeah.
bands have sent me some beer, and then
Yeah.
I did Belching Beaver is like literally local here to Northern
Yeah.
California, so I not quite in San Fran, but local-ish. So they sell it at like my Trader Joe's.
Okay.
They sell
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Deftones Phantom Brides, the same thing. It was so popular as a limited run. They just make it all the time now. That's like the
Yeah.
one Deftones beer. They just keep making my Holy Grail beer that I love the most. They don't ship anywhere or they don't make it anymore. I don't know. But when I was in New York and still living in Brooklyn, Mastodon has the Hunter beer. So,
Right.
obviously it's for a record that's 10 years old. The beer is not 10 years old, but it's
Yeah.
like just my personal taste of a beer. It's also like an IPA ale and not super high ABV, but a delicious beer if you can get it. And I know they just did a new one for the new album that's
Right.
only available in Atlanta. So no help to me out here and they don't
Yeah. I
ship.
think that's
So
like the only challenge with that. It's kind of it's you can't ship it like merch. That's why I was curious if people are actually shipping that to you. But yeah, it
sometimes, yeah,
sounds similar
sometimes.
to what this brewery does. Like I think they pretty much just do like kind of local drop offs or something
Mm,
like that, like for any online orders. Otherwise you just come to the brewery. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, aside from the festival thing, I have bigger ambitions with the beer collab. So we'll see how that progresses. After the festival is done.
Yeah, man. I want to
Yeah.
maybe we can get an Old Blood beer or a Dawn Fades beer or a Fermentor. I even talked to those guys in my interview about beer. I was like, Fermentor, it just seems like you guys should be making beer
We should be
or
fermenting.
right, fermenting your hops and whatever. So it just seems like they should be doing one. Bone Maggot would make an amazing beer, and their artwork is always so sick. So I would love to see
Yeah.
some of these bands have their artwork on the can. That's half the attraction. If the beer's good, awesome. Some of the beers are
Yeah.
not good. Sorry, Iron Maiden, love you forever, but the beers not for me. Some of them. Behemoth's beer had an amazing can, and then the beer was like, this is very, very stouty and bitter for me. But like,
Right.
I get it. Not everything is going to be made to my taste. But
Yeah.
yeah, the beer collabs are very exciting, and obviously, I drink a lot of other beer that is not band beers. But
Yeah.
yes, of course, as a music guy, we pay attention to these things. Just as we start to wind this down, man. Just again, so looking forward to hearing all about the show. Things being what they are, I'm not going to be able to make it down to LA for this, but I will see you soon on the road. Yeah, man, it's just a very wacky time in the world. It has been a hard time for everybody, but luckily we have music to bring us together and celebrate. And I think
Yeah.
it's worth celebrating your history in the business. Just for a fun kind of closing wild card question, apropos of nothing, we got
Okay.
the love it or hate it. We got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 22 nominations announced today. And I don't
Ah,
care about halls of fame. You and I have talked about this before offline. So Judas Priest and Rage Against the Machine are among the nominees, and it's the Rock Hall. They do kind of what they want. It's not just rock.
okay.
I know
Yeah.
boomers get very angry about anybody else that's not
Yeah.
rock and roll or
Yeah. It's
metal.
all news to me. I don't even know who got nominated. So you
Oh
tell me.
yes, yeah. So it's Judas Priest, Rage Against the Machine, Devo, New York
Okay.
Dolls, bands that should have been in my mind a long time ago.
Yeah.
Duran. So more, sort of rock, but really pop. But also like Pat Benatar, who's like an incredible singer,
Yeah.
never always overlooked, never mentioned. Dolly Parton, who's not rock, but is beloved, so maybe
Right.
she's going to get in. Eminem, Beck. So when I think about Judas Priest and whether it's important for them to be in the American Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when they are an incredible, unfuckwithable legend of heavy metal, I don't care. I don't think they care. I think it would be a nice honor. People are on Twitter arguing about Maiden should get in before Priest, and it's like, doesn't matter. Two halls of fame matter to metalheads and rockers. Rage Against the Machines, sort of a very commercially successful band, and it was weird to me that to me, it was like a snub that they didn't get in the first time, right? So like, Priest not getting in for a while when it took them forever to put in Black Sabbath, it's par for the course for metal. But I was just wondering your thoughts or feelings. If you even care, you probably don't.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, as you can imagine, from based on the conversation we've had so far, for people who are listening, I mean, like to me, that is no parameter for how I perceive a band, like whether they're in the Hall of Fame or not. Like they're in, if they're legends in my book, then they're in my Hall of Fame anyway. Like Maiden, they don't have to prove anything to anyone, or Priest for that matter. So yeah, I mean, I kind of, like I said, I didn't even know who got nominated, so I could definitely don't even keep in touch with any of that. But then again, I'm no longer running a blog, so I don't have to. You have to, so that's your job. But no, I mean, but on the same token, like I'm not like hating on the Hall of Fame or anything. Like if people are getting in, then that's cool. I mean, I'm sure they deserve it on some level. I don't think there's been something that's so like left field or so controversial that where the band should not even be in. I mean, the debate always is, okay, who should have been in before them, right? Not whether that band should have been in at all. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think I don't hold it against any bands that make it in there. All that being said, probably like my favorite bands will never be in there, but by what it seems like. So
Right on. I mean,
yeah.
my vest is over my shoulder. Anthrax, I love you guys. Super innovative and amazing. Probably not getting into any
Yeah.
Hall of Fame that's not the heavy metal Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I think people are just more like, remember that like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is from like Jan Wenner and Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone, all even though they were like the rock magazine of the 60s and 70s and a little bit the 80s, they also always covered R&B. They were the first people to cover rap, jazz. That's why there are all those other gospel. That's why all these
Yeah.
other genres get in, because it's sort of a hodgepodge. The very first class had, gospel singers and blues artists and stuff, which is fine because I feel like music is all interrelated, and metal and rock draw from all these other things. So I don't have a problem that
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls is in, or Eminem is definitely going to get in. He's Eminem, like one of the most successful rappers ever. I just
Yeah.
think like it's funny to me that people get sore about it. And
I
again, I
guess it's
think,
like on that mainstream level, their definition of rock and roll is different from ours. I
right,
think it's just simple as
right.
that. Yeah.
And pop culture doesn't, like I said, the Grammys don't really honor metal. Like the nominees are interesting, but like they don't even show them on television anymore. It's all off air in a
Like
private
how they were,
ceremony.
I remember that one time recently where Megadeth won it, but then they were playing Master of Puppets. The house band was playing Master of Puppets as those guys were walking up there.
That has happened to Mustaine so many times. There's a really funny story. He
Hmm.
was recruit just really quick. This is interesting, right? So I don't know
Yeah.
why that guy has like a kick me sign on him universally. He was like invited to do the music for an Iron Man movie, and they're like, "Can you make a song that sounds like this?" And they played "Sad but True" for him, and he was just like, "I want the job, but I want to walk out." Like this poor guy, man. Like
Yeah.
all respect to Dave. And again, I also feel like you said, there's not anybody who's in egregiously, or like it's not like we just had the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? All the discussion is like steroids and this person
Yeah.
doesn't belong, and you'll never get in Clemens, Bonds, A-Rod, McGuire.
Yeah.
But like, Poppy got in, which I'm happy about. I know you're a big
Yeah.
baseball fan, as am I. So, I have very little to say on the matter. I have a lot of guys on my team from the Yankees are in the Hall of Fame,
Right.
but like, there's nobody like, oh, he shouldn't be in. There's very
Yeah.
little of that. You have to be a real dick to be like, that person doesn't deserve it. But I just feel like in the heavy metal and rock community, we don't care, and B, it's sort of the acceptance of a community we don't put a lot of faith in anyway.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like I don't think rock and roll or our rock and roll is seeking to be mainstream. Yes, like as a label, I think I just said this today on a social media post. Like my bands deserve to be heard by as many people as possible, like all around the world. So we are always going to strive for that. But that doesn't, I don't think it really like means that we're like necessarily seeking attention from like something like the Hall of Fame or whatever. So
That's it.
um, yeah,
We do what we do for love,
yeah,
and that's all we need, my friend.
yeah.
Andrew, great to see you. Thanks for sharing all this stuff with us. Congratulations on 12 years of Metal Assault. Good
Thanks,
luck at the
man.
show in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to follow along and check it all out and keep sharing the news. And just all the best to you, all the best to the bands, and we'll continue to follow your story. Is far from over, my friend.
Hey, thanks again, man. Appreciate it, and good talking to you. Well, you take